that former President Donald Trump will win because they're trying to protect the economy.
The energy in this room is incredible. God bless America.
While the 2016 election may be seen by some as an error or fault of an outdated electoral system, Trump's re-election revealed something far more insidious. No, this may actually be what people want. For many astounded liberals, Trump's rise and continued success in the highest of offices is a shock to the system. How could someone like him, a total outsider to the political game, penetrate the status quo?
I want every man, woman, and child to understand how close we are to chaos.
Noam Chomsky's seminal work, Manufacturing Consent, co-authored with Edward S. Herman, demonstrates the various mechanisms that the news uses to manufacture consent in the general population. And their arguments are extremely relevant nowadays, especially when the news appears to have a ready-made opinion on events that haven't even begun yet. But how could we make sense of Trump, a man who has evoked such a collective rejection by mainstream media and somehow came out on top? Is Trump an exception to Chomsky's manufacturing consent, or have the rules of the game changed? But first, what is this manufacturing consent? Simply put, it is the process by which mass media institutions act as propaganda that compel viewers to anticipate and accept certain political decisions. This is through several filters. One is ownership. Even at the local level, most media ownership is concentrated in the hands of a few corporate conglomerates, which prioritize profit maximization above all else. This monopoly, however, often leads to a lack of diversity in opinion. And then there's advertising revenue. Just like a YouTube channel, media outlets need advertisers so they can financially survive and profit. This creates a two-way relationship, where they need to reflect the agendas of advertisers, thus leading to avoiding certain topics that might be controversial or could drive consumers away. With Trump, we saw something different. Foul language and xenophobic speech became regularly broadcasted. Were advertisers okay with alienating some audience members for the spectacle of the president? And sourcing. While fact-checking became increasingly more common in the Trump era, this did not stop Trump from popularizing false claims, such as dog-eating immigrants. The influence of validating sources has now been put into question. And flack. Journalists and those within the media may also feel a constant pressure to represent the interests of the ruling class due to the presence of threats. These may present themselves as boycotts, lawsuits, or the withdrawal of funding. Trump and his campaign used flack as a tool, attacking dissenters, fact-checkers, and even Fox when they drifted too far from his messaging. Another filter is ideological conformity. Media outlets also exist within a larger ideological field that they might struggle to look at critically. While media conglomerates wrote op-ed after op-ed on the threat of Trump and his authoritarian potential, they failed to consider that such a resilient form of adversarial messaging might have desensitized individuals to Trump, normalizing his presence in the political arena. So Trump, as he fits into Chomsky's notion of manufacturing consent, is a bit of a mixed bag. In some areas, such as flack, he has shown himself to be one of the bestest. But in terms of the supposed propaganda model that was meant to function as a deterrent to Trump's popularity, manufacturing consent appears to be a failure. Mainstream resistance to Trump did two things. One, it further amplified his image as an outsider and rebel against the elites, helping boost his message. And two, positioning Trump as a singular existential threat simplified broader systemic issues that were happening in America, such as inequality and democratic backsliding. These were issues that, ironically, also furthered his support. To make it all worse, the constant messaging of Trump as the big bad guy likely desensitized the public to his form of rhetoric and behavior, making it the norm rather than the exception. So was Chomsky wrong? Could he not have accounted for the rise of someone like Donald J. Trump? Not so fast. While Trump's popularity might not be accounted for when we look at traditional forms of mass media, we should ask ourselves if mainstream media holds the same influence that it once had. Rather than unified elite messaging, we might have entered a new era of manufactured consent, where fragmented algorithm-driven narratives cause chaos rather than consensus. No longer must the modern despot weave complex and seemingly coherent narratives to attract loyalty. All that is needed now is for people to be scared. Chaos breeds fear, and with fear comes cognitive rigidity, the paralysis of rational decision-making. The seduction of the strong man, the guy who tells it like it is, grows ever stronger, even when what it is has been mostly manufactured. Musk's takeover of Twitter, the world's largest megaphone, is characterized by his own sensationalized tweets as well as the removal of any checks on misinformation. The conservative venture capitalist Peter Thiel has likewise made large investments in platforms such as Rumble, framing the platform as an edgy alternative to YouTube while spreading fake news rhetoric and challenging traditional sources of media. Thiel has also backed the Weinstein brothers, who act as useful provocateurs of the status quo and use their limited expertise to create confusion and disruption in scientific messaging. Jordan Peterson, in a cringe-inducing Daily Wire snippet, equips his clinical psychology degree to provide one of the most brown-nosing analyses of Trump's personality.
Trump does have a surprisingly thin skin in some settings, but he can take a joke as well as tell one.
Taken together, the supposed freedom-fighting and truth-centering alternatives to mainstream media appear just as readily corrupted by corporate and elite interest as Chomsky's image of mainstream media. But that doesn't matter to most. Perhaps a unifying and coherent message is no longer needed to win the game of democracy. What the people want is protection from uncertainty. And while there are a plethora of reasons as to why Trump was elected, one thing is clear. Manufacturing consent is over. Welcome to the age of manufactured chaos.
Frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political move.
Response to Trump's desire to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
Take over, Elijah!
With an overwhelming amount of media swirling around us at all times, occasionally we just don't have the energy or focus to understand something we're reading. That's where Shortform comes into play. I've been using Shortform for a while now, and I'm glad to say that we have partnered with them as an affiliate. As we grow, we tend to get busier, and Shortform has helped me keep powerful ideas and points I've learned throughout the years fresh in my mind. Shortform doesn't just summarize either. They help connect information by building on top of the content and adding value to help you learn faster. Learn more than ever from important nonfiction books at shortform.com/Sisyphus and receive 5 days of unlimited access and an additional 20% discount on the annual subscription. Get ahead of the noise with Shortform.